Students must be vaccinated against 9 diseases unless they have a valid exception. These warnings were issued for children in grades 2 to 5, chosen for their low vaccination rates against measles.
Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow's city budget has been approved by council. The budget highlights a property tax increase of 2.2%. Chow insists on the low property tax increase due to affordability concerns. The budget includes a TTC fare freeze and a monthly fare cap set to come into effect later this year. The mayor's revised version of the budget added more funds for youth safety and homelessness outreach. It also increased a tax rebate for small businesses. These changes have been approved by councillors despite criticism, along with additional small motions.
For the first time in years, you can buy a bachelor or one-bedroom condo in Toronto for under $400,000. But according to the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, TREB, this could lead to supply issues down the line. With prices in the housing market dropping, renters who thought they may never buy are now seriously considering it. Experts warn this could lead to another housing shortage. TREB's chief information officer says these lower prices are the result of buyers regaining some bargaining leverage. A developer is proposing the construction of 5 18-story towers on a property in North Oakville. An Oakville holding company recently presented town staff with zoning amendment applications. If approved, they would permit the building of the 5 18-story mixed-use structures. The project seeks to be built on a vacant 2.4-hectare property on the northeast corner of William Halton Parkway and Nyagawa Boulevard. The matter is expected to come before the town's Planning and Development Council on February 17th, where councillors and members of the public will be able to comment on it.
A major respite centre for homeless Torontonians is set to close before the end of winter due to a booking for the FIFA World Cup. The Better Living Centre at Exhibition Place has room for 250 people, making it one of the biggest respite centres in Toronto. It'll be closing a month early during a year with harsh cold and heavy snowfall. While the city said people will be offered alternatives, vacancies in the winter shelter system are rare, and warming centres are often over capacity.
Police are searching for 2 suspects after a man was fatally shot in a Burlington parking lot. Police were notified about a shooting outside the Burlington Center Mall on Monday night just after 10 p.m. Police say the 2 suspects fled in a white SUV. The victim has been identified as 24-year-old Omar Niaz Muhammad. He was shot in his upper body and passed away upon being transferred to hospital. Muhammad's death marks Burlington's first homicide of the year. His connection to the suspect is not yet known, as investigators continue to look into other possibly related crimes in that region. U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening to block the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge. The bridge is posed to become the newest board crossing between Windsor, Ontario, and the city of Detroit.
And of the 15,000 people who helped build this bridge, 8,000 came from the United States. And so to say that somehow the U.S. wasn't involved and there has to be some more equity in this, it makes no sense based on the facts.
Trump's threat amid a text post in which he expressed beliefs that the bridge was built with no U.S. content. The $6.4 billion cost of the bridge has been entirely funded by Canada's federal government. However, the bridge is under the public joint ownership of Canada and the state of Michigan.
A man has been found dead following a fire in St. Catharines. Niagara Regional Police spotted a large fire inside a tent at 3:15 a.m. on Tuesday. The fire broke out at Mountain Locks Park near Glendale Avenue. The fire was quickly extinguished and fire crews found a man dead on the scene. The cause of the fire remains under investigation and the park is closed until further notice.
35 Ontario communities are still without a recycling program after the province-wide system was introduced at the start of the year. More than a month ago, Ontario transitioned from a number of separate recycling programs to just one, run by the nonprofit Circular Materials. The provincial recycling regulator is still trying to bring circular materials into compliance, while many communities continue to dispose of recyclables along with garbage. That's all we have for local and regional news today. Now we'll take a quick look at the weather with Christian Constantino Ferreira.
Thank you. If you weren't blown away by our 40-kilometer winds this morning and made it to this segment, I'm here to tell you it gets better. The wind has dropped to 20 kilometers an hour, but we'll still have a wind chill of -11, even though it's actually 1 degree outside. Right now, it's a mix of sun and cloud, but going into tonight, we can expect to see some flurries as temperatures drop to -7. When you're waking up early for that wonderful 10 a.m. Canada hockey game tomorrow, it'll feel like -12, with cloudy conditions to really spark up your morning. That's all I got for you right now. I'm going to go catch up on those intense men's curling highlights and be back later on the show for our 5-day forecast. For now, we go back to the desk.
Thank you, Christian. When we come back, we'll have an update on yesterday's mass shooting at a school in Tumbler Ridge, BC. Stay with us.
I'm Sunday Kessig, and I'm a news anchor and a writer.
My name is Vivek Patel. I'm the show director for the Sheridan Sun show.
My name is Sakina Rayur, and I am My name is Sakina Rayur, and I'm the news anchor for this term's newscast. No, do not keep that in.
Sakina, the other anchor. I'm kidding. Probably producer, which will actually be my role just later in the show.
I think I would swap with Taylor because their job is camera operator and also floor director. And me personally, I really like the simplicity that floor director really has.
The producing roles is also really cool, and just seeing how well the team has done it so far, just really makes me think about, what it'd be like to do that.
Yeah, there was a really funny thing. Just the other week, we were doing a news show and everything, and
Yeah, so far, I'm a little embarrassed. Usually I check my pronunciations, but then, sometimes you nail the pronunciation and then you get so caught up in it, you forget completely how to say the word plant that comes immediately after. Or you just forget that Lego is pronounced Lego and not Legalt.
Okay, one thing I realized is that if you're not writing your own throw to, read it before you say it live, otherwise you may laugh. But yeah.
so I think if that counts as a moment, hopefully that goes through.
This afternoon, we learned the identity of the suspect responsible for Canada's largest mass shooting in history. It is 18-year-old Jesse Van Rootselaar, a transgender student from a yet unidentified school. Very few further details are available. Today, a tearful Prime Minister spoke in the House of Commons and expressed grief for the victims and their families. He also suspended travel plans this week. The PM was scheduled to make a defense announcement in Halifax before boarding a plane to Munich, where he was going to make the opening address at the Munich Security Conference. Meantime, police continue to search for a motive for yesterday's shooting. Tumbler Ridge is a small, tight-knit community of only 2,700 people. Police say the first call came in at 1:20 yesterday afternoon. 6 victims were found inside the high school, and another died on the way to the hospital. The victims' identities have not been released as police work to notify families. The suspect also died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
And while the community of Tumbler Ridge grieves, reaction across the country and the world has been swift. School shootings are not as unusual in Canada as you might think. To Lucas Cortez now with a look at the data.
After the deadly shooting that happened yesterday, which took 10 lives and injured 27 people, making a total of 37 people involved, it set a record for the most injured people in a school shooting in all of Canadian history. Due to this, we should take a look back to the most horrific school shootings in Canadian history. This list does not include other types of attacks, such as stabbings or bombings. The most recent one, before yesterday's shooting, happened 2 years ago on June 2nd, 2024, at the North Albanian College Institute in Etobicoke. At the time of the shooting, the Toronto police originally said that 2 shooters hopped out of a van and opened fire on a group just outside the college. But after, only one teen boy was charged, which was later dropped due to lack of evidence. He did, however, plead guilty to lesser crimes. To this day, the 2 shooters who killed 2 and injured 3 people have never been found or charged. On June 22, 2016, 5 people were killed and 6 were injured in a shooting at La Roche Community School by 17-year-old Redan Dakota Fontaine, who, before heading to the community school, shot and killed 2 of his siblings, then headed to the school and killed 2 more people and wounded 6 others. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with no chance of parole for 10 years. On September 13, 2006, at Sheridan College, downtown Montreal, Quebec, 18-year-old Anastasia de Souza was killed and 20 others were hurt when gunman Kim Viller-Gill, 25, was not a student, opened fire. Gill committed suicide after being shot by a police officer. On December 6, 1989, in Montreal, Quebec, 25-year-old Marc Lepin walked into a classroom of École Polytechnique de Montreal with a gun and separated the men and women, telling the men to leave. He opened fire in the classroom, later committing suicide shortly after his rampage, killing 14 students and wounding 14 other people in total. There have been many shootings that have taken many lives despite Canada's relatively strict gun controls. There are still occasional shootings in the country that deserve to be remembered for the tragedies that they are. There have been 73 school shootings in 142 years in Canada, making an average of 1 school shooting every 2 years. To this day, the École Polytechnique massacre remains the shooting with the highest deaths at 15, but the one yesterday marks the second in deaths but highest in injuries and sets the record for the highest total involvement. It is yet to be confirmed, but the RCMP have said the suspect was described in the initial alert as a female in a dress, and later officials confirmed the shooter was a female, though they haven't released identity details yet. If it is confirmed to be a female, it would be the first time in Canadian history that a school shooting happened with a suspect being a female. This is Lucas Cortez with the Sheridan Sun.
Airlines are sending empty planes to Cuba where thousands of Canadian travelers fear being stranded. Air Canada, WestJet, and Air Transat announced yesterday that they'll be suspending flights to Cuba after the government warned aviation fuel may not be available. Now, planes are being sent with extra fuel to make sure that travelers can get home. This comes as Cuba faces food shortages and power outages related to U.S. sanctions and oil disruptions from Venezuela.
Arviat Nunavut has been chosen as the main campus site for Canada's first Inuit University. The precise location of the campus will be revealed at Rideau Hall in Ottawa this afternoon, during an event hosted by Inuit Taparit Kanatami, the national organization representing Inuit. ITK President Natan Obed describes the creation of the first Inuit-led university as an important step in asserting jurisdiction in the Canadian Arctic. Arviat ranks the highest in alignment with the university's vision for a culturally rich learning environment, making it an ideal site.
The U.S. Department of Defense says it has neutralized a threat involving a breach into American airspace by Mexican cartel drones over El Paso, Texas. The Federal Aviation Administration ordered flights in and out of El Paso International Airport to be halted last night. This morning, it lifted its order to shut down the airspace for 10 days. Travelers can contact their airlines for updates on their flights.
To Madagascar now, where at least 20 people have died after a powerful cyclone hit the island's main port. Cyclone Gizani made landfall yesterday. Several houses collapsed in the impact zone where the bodies were found. Neighborhoods were plunged into darkness as power lines snapped and trees uprooted. Gizani is the second cyclone to hit Madagascar this year. It comes 10 days after Tropical Cyclone Fitia killed 14 and displaced over 31,000 people.
In the U.S., House Democrats challenged Attorney General Pam Bondi today to address the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, which Bondi flatly refused to do. She responded instead by telling them they should focus their attention on the rising stock market and the falling crime. Tempers flared several times during the judicial hearing that focused on the contents of the Epstein files and the fatal shootings of 2 U.S. citizens in Minnesota by ICE agents. Here's a look.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
It's almost time for entertainment news. Season 10 of Love is Blind is here, and already lots of drama. More on that later in the show. Be back in 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Manal, and I am the entertainment host.
My name is Christian Cosentino Ferreira. I am Weather Boy, otherwise known as the Weather Reporter.
I'm Nigel D'Souza. I am the sports reporter. And I report on all things sports. Nothing's coming to mind.
I've got a couple good ones. You know, I referenced some stupid text message I got from someone who's in the program last week. I thought it was pretty funny. Cracked up the producer a couple times. I also had a couple funny fails. You know, we were expecting weather conditions. So expect weather conditions. That was a pretty good one. Yeah.
For me, the best moment of the semester was probably when Christian caused that earthquake in Ontario.
Honestly, it's kind of cool to see how Maddie and Adam have worked in their positions. I feel like that would be really cool.
Nobody actually loved my role, and if I could have it for next half of the semester, I would do it too.
Mine's pretty good. I don't know if I'd be willing to give it up, but maybe like this. I wanted the sports host one. You know, Nigel's not giving a lot of energy.
He is very witty.
We've talked to him a couple times. I'm training him a little bit.
He's got a way with words.
But you know, maybe that one. I'll give it a try.
Now, on to entertainment with Manal Qureshi.
Season 10 of Love is Blind is coming out today, and one of the contestants is taking the premise of the show very seriously.
I love you so much.
Marry me.
This is crazy. Getting married.
I mean, how much time do you have? Like, could this be a therapy session?
The show is taking place in Ohio this season, where Alyssa Finley poured nail glue into her eye. Ironically, Alyssa is a nurse. She had gone into the pod, spotted a bottle, and assumed it was eye drops. Thankfully, Alyssa is okay and returned back to the show to continue her time on the dating show after the incident. Britney Spears has sold a piece of her. 10 years after her last studio album, the Toxic singer sold her music catalog and a number of other rights to music publisher Primary Wave. While the price tag for Britney's music was not disclosed, legal documents obtained by TMZ show she signed away the ownership of her music catalog in December. While Britney may not own her music catalog anymore, she has been investing her time in her relationship with her kids. Emerald Fennell's anticipated reinvention of Wuthering Heights, based on Emily Bronte's novel of the same name, starring Australian A-listers Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie, has divided film critics ahead of its release this Valentine weekend. The movie has been attracting attention and much controversy since it was first announced over its whitewash casting and intimate scenes. Critic Alison Wilmore writes, Wuthering Heights is Emerald Fennell's dumbest movie, and I say that with admiration because it also happens to be her best movie to date. While I have yet to see it, I can't say I don't agree. Marty Supreme becomes A24's highest-grossing worldwide release. The film generated $147 million globally, with ticket sales surpassing the Oscar Best Picture winner Everything Everywhere All at Once and Civil War, which previously stood as A24's biggest movies at the worldwide box office.
Backhand, forehand.
How do you live?
Well, I live with the confidence if I believe in myself, the money will follow.
It took the film just a few extra weeks to notch the global distinction, and its global tally will keep rising because Marty Supreme has yet to open in several big international territories, according to A24. The studio shelled out $70 million on production costs, the most an art house company has ever spent on a film before accounting for marketing expenses. 3 cheers for Marty. Norway's Sturla Holm Lagrade celebrated his first individual medal at the Winter Olympics with bronze instead of basking in the glory. Lagrade chose the moment to confess to cheating on his girlfriend.
6 months ago, I met the love of my life, the world's most beautiful, wonderful person in the world. And 3 months ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life and cheated on her.
Known as one of the world's best biathletes, Lagrade acknowledged he was committing social suicide in a desperate attempt to win back his ex. So if you were sad about it, you won't be the only one without a Valentine this year. Back to desk.
And now to someone who doesn't need a Valentine because he's in love with sports. Here's Nigel D'Souza.
Yesterday in the Winter Olympics, the Canadian women's hockey team got shut out 5-0 against the United States. Canada's captain, Marie-Philip Poulin, was out of the game due to a lower body injury sustained in their win against Czechia. Brianne Jenner took on the captain role in Poulin's absence. Canada's starter in net, Anne Renee Dabian, was replaced by Emryn Smashmeyer in the third period when the U.S. scored their 5th goal on 27 shots. Canada faces off against Finland tomorrow morning. Swiss alpine skier Franjo van Almen has won today's Super G to claim his 3rd Olympic gold medal of this year's Winter Games. Van Almen finished with a time of 1 minute 25.32 seconds on the Stelvio course. Van Almen is just the 3rd men's alpine ski racer to win 3 events at one Winter Olympics. France's Jean-Claude Killy was the last to claim 3 golds in 1968. The current Olympic standings have Norway as the leading country with 7 gold medals and 13 in total. Switzerland and the United States round out the top 3 with 4 and 3 gold medals respectively, while Canada sits outside the top 10 at 13th with 1 silver and 2 bronze. The Toronto Blue Jays officially kicked off the 2026 season this morning. Last year's American League champions are back, with pitchers and catchers reporting to the team's player development complex in Florida. This year also marks the Blue Jays' 50th season as a franchise. The Jays' first full squad workout is next Monday with their spring training games starting February 21st when they host the Philadelphia Phillies. Tonight, the Toronto Raptors square off against the Detroit Pistons at Scotiabank Arena. The Raptors are riding a 2-game win streak and will be without rookie Colin Murray-Boyles, who has a thumb injury. The team is holding him out with this being the final game before the All-Star break. Chucky Hepburn is also sidelined with a knee injury, and Jakob Poeltl will be the game-time decision due to a season-long back injury. The Pistons, who also go into tonight on a 2-game win streak, currently lead the Eastern Conference standings, while the Raptors sit in 5th. Last night in the NBA, Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs put on a show against the Los Angeles Lakers. Wembanyama dropped 40 points, tying his season high to give the Spurs the 136-108 win. 37 of his points came in the first half of San Antonio's 5th straight victory. In the same night, Chicago Bulls' Colin Sexton was fined $30,000 for an inappropriate gesture he made in Monday night's game against the Brooklyn Nets. After making a free throw in the 3rd quarter, Sexton threw up his middle finger, directing it to the net. The NBA has suspended Detroit Pistons' Isaiah Stewart for 7 games due to his part in Monday's on-court brawl with the Charlotte Hornets. Stewart received the longest ban of the 4 players disciplined. Pistons' Jalen Duren was suspended 2 games, but will be allowed to participate in the All-Star game on Sunday. That's all for sports. Let's go to Christian Costantino Ferreira, who has the weather.
The Winter Olympics may be underway, but that doesn't mean that the spring isn't quickly approaching. Now, someone tell Team Canada that we need to start quickly getting some medals. We're falling behind here. Welcome back to our 5-day forecast. We'll start with Thursday. A stark overcast of clouds to shrivel up whatever amount of excitement Ontario has for the men's hockey game in the morning. The clouds will stick with us until night with some of our chilliest conditions of the week at a low of -11 and a high of -1. We move on to the dreaded Friday the 13th with a not-so-freaky slate of warmer weather at a high of +1 and a low of -6. We can expect a mix of sun and clouds on this rare day. We move on to the Saturday, the day of love. If you're single and alone just like me, our only date scheduled is at work, and you probably won't get to experience the sunshine as we're also expecting to have a stale 0 degrees on the agenda. Closer to the end of the day, you can expect an increase in clouds as it drops to -3. This Sunday, we'll have clouds throughout the morning, along with a 30% chance of flurries in the evening, and a high of +1 to go side by side with a low of -1. On Monday, we reach our highest temperature of the year so far, at +2. Even with the winter wonderland outside, you can truly call this a miracle on ice. With every miracle, there is a sacrifice. However, as the temperature drops to -3 at night, in an overcast of clouds blocking any sun on our warmest day. That's all I have for our 5-day forecast. Now I move on to a topic I have absolutely zero knowledge about, as I am devastatingly alone in the state of loneliness. With more on Valentine's spending, we go back to the desk.
The National Retail Federation expects Americans will spend $29 billion this Valentine's Day. That's a record amount.
According to the NRF's annual survey, shoppers are budgeting nearly $200 for gifts. That include gifts for romantic partners, family members, children's classmates, teachers, co-workers, and pets. Candy remains the most popular Valentine's Day gift, followed by flowers, cards, a night out, and jewelry. And it's also good to know that this week we're finally getting out of that deep freeze. So I think it'll be a little bit nice.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
That's all for our news today. I'm Sakina Ghayur.
And I'm Sunday Kessig. Thanks for tuning in.